Creating diagrams. Whenever you create a diagram, you will use a template, even if it's a blank template. You don't have to use a pre-designed template if you don't want to. However, in this lesson, we're going to be using a basic template to show you some basic steps to create drawings. In this lesson, we're going to learn about the dynamic grid, auto connect, quick shapes, auto add, and auto delete. We'll also show you how to copy and paste shapes, connect and resize shapes, reposition shapes, and replace shapes. The dynamic grid helps you position shapes on a page. It's similar to a grid that you use in a graphics design program or even Microsoft Word. To learn to use a dynamic grid, we first need to open a template. So let's go to the Backstage view by clicking on the File tab. Then click on New and select Basic Diagram. Choose the unit of measure and click Create. You'll now have a new diagram open. Notice that the Shapes window is on the left and the Drawing window is on the right. Now go to the Shapes window and select the rectangle. To add a shape to the diagram, we need to drag it onto the window. So hold down your left mouse button onto the rectangle shape and drag this across to the right onto the Drawing window. Place it in the upper right hand corner of the page. If you're having trouble getting the rectangle shape onto your page, remember to click on the rectangle shape in the Shapes window. Keep your left mouse button pressed down. With the left mouse button pressed down, move your mouse to the page in the Drawing window. You'll see your mouse dragging the rectangle shape. Next, drag a circle shape. Position it to the left of the rectangle. Once again, we hold the left mouse button down and drag it to next to the rectangle. However, once you've dragged the circle and before you release the mouse button, move it up and down on the page. You'll see the dynamic grid line appear, which is the green line at the top of the page. You can also see two arrows in between the circle and the square. This shows the circle's position relative to the rectangle. The green line that goes across the top of the circle and the rectangle shows they're aligned by using the dynamic grid. If I drag it up a little bit higher, you can see the green line goes through the middle of the shapes, which means they're aligned through the middle. Let go of the mouse button to place the shape. To move or make other changes to shapes in Visio 2013, you must first select the shape. To select a shape, click on the shape. You'll see the bounding box appear around a shape when it is selected, as you can see here. To select multiple shapes, select your first shape as we've just shown you. Press the Shift key and hold it down when selecting all other shapes. To select all shapes, select a shape, then go to the Home tab, then the Editing group. Click the downward arrow to the right of Select, then choose Select All. This will select all shapes. Chances are you've used the copy and paste features in other software programs before. However, let's take a minute to explain it again just in case. Whenever you copy a shape, you copy it to the clipboard. The clipboard stores everything that you either copy or paste from your drawing. You can then paste that shape into your drawing or into another drawing. To copy a shape, first select it as we learned to do earlier in this section. Right-click on the shape and then choose Copy from the context menu which appears. Next, right-click in the drawing where you want to paste the shape. Then select Paste from the menu that appears. The shape is then pasted into your drawing as you can see here. The shape that you pasted into the drawing is the one selected. When a shape is selected, you can hold down the left mouse button over the shape until you see a four-way arrow. You can then drag and drop the shape to the location that you want it to appear on the page. Duplicating shapes sounds more complicated and involved than it really is. To duplicate a shape, simply select the shape, then press Ctrl D. The shape is then duplicated. Visio 2013 gives you several ways to resize shapes. Chances are you're going to want to resize shapes as you use Visio, so learning these methods is important. You can resize shapes using your mouse, keyboard, or the size and position window. Just be warned that not all shapes can be modified. The only way to know if a shape can be resized is to wait until you try to resize it. You may also discover that shapes that look identical don't behave the same. Again, you won't know until it happens to you. That said, let's learn how to resize a shape. Start out by selecting a shape. Let's select this rectangle and move it closer to the middle of the screen. We'll then see the box that appears around it after we select it. The white squares that you see at each of the four corners and on the sides of the shape are called handles. You can drag the handles on the sides to change the width or the height. You can drag the corner handles to change the height and width, all while keeping the same proportions. You can rotate a shape by using the rotation handle. This is the circular arrow above the shape. To do this, hover your mouse over the rotation handle until your mouse cursor is also a circular arrow, as you can see here. Click your left mouse button and rotate the shape while holding the mouse button down. You can rotate it left or right. To view the size and position window, go to the View tab on the ribbon. Find the Show group and then click on the Task Panes button. Then click on Size and Position. When you click Size and Position, you'll see a little window appear down on the bottom. It's typically docked to the left side of the drawing window or to the left of the shape. In this window, you can see the coordinates for your shape as well as the size. You can also see the rotation angle. You can change any of these attributes by clicking on the attribute and then typing in a new one. If it's empty like this screen here, it means we haven't selected a shape. Let's select a shape and see what happens. We can see that these values have now been updated. The pin pos attribute is the center rotation for the shape. Imagine a pin through the shape. The pin holds the shape at that point. By default, it's center to center. All shapes in Visio 2013 are either one-dimensional or two-dimensional, or 1D or 2D. One-dimensional shapes are lines. They have endpoints that can be connected to other shapes. You often see lines connecting shapes in diagrams. These are those lines. Two-dimensional shapes in Visio have edges as well as an interior. We've worked with two-dimensional shapes in this lesson. Now we're going to use one-dimensional shapes to connect two-dimensional shapes. We're going to use two circles in our drawing, and we're going to connect them together. There are 3 circles in this drawing here, so I'll just go ahead and move one of them out of the way. Notice that the circles are two-dimensional. They have an edge and an interior. To connect them with the one-dimensional shape, we're going to go to the Home tab, and then click the downward arrow to the right of the pointer tool, and then select Line. Now, point your mouse near any shape on your page. You'll see black squares appear on the edges and the centers of the shapes. These squares are the connection points. Move the cursor near a connection point. A green square will appear. That square tells you that you can click on it and glue an end of the line to that connection point. So click on the connection point, and then drag to a connection point on another shape, using the same method. Release the mouse button. The line is now glued to the edges of these shapes. You can tell the line is glued because a white circle appears on the destination end and the green on the original connecting point. If the line wasn't glued, the destination would have a solid grey square and the starting point would have a white square. You can also use freeform lines to connect shapes. Freeform lines can be zigzag or squiggly. To draw a freeform line, select the Freeform Line tool. It's grouped with the Line tool. Use it the same way as you did the Line tool. You can then use the points, which are the blue circles, to adjust the shape of the line. Dynamic connectors is another type of line in Visio. If you use a dynamic connector, Visio adds and removes the bends in the lines for you. This is based on the position of the shapes and connection points that you're connecting with a line. To use a dynamic connector, go to the Home tab and click on the Connector button. Next, drag from a connection point of one shape to a connection point on another shape. We can draw a line by dragging the mouse to the destination connection point. Notice how the dynamic connector added bends in the line that we glued to the destination connection point. As you've already learned in this course, you glue lines to shapes using connection points. However, you can also glue lines to shapes without connection points. Dynamic glue is used to draw lines to shapes that do not have connection points, or glue a line to a part of a shape that doesn't have a connection point. Static glue is used to glue lines to a shape that have connection points, or that you're gluing to connection points. AutoConnect is simply a fast way to link shapes together using dynamic connectors. In other words, it saves you time when you're creating drawings. To learn to use AutoConnect, click on the File tab, and then click New. Click on the flowchart category at the top of the screen. Double-click the basic flowchart to open it. Now drag a start and end shape onto the drawing page. You'll see the start and end shape in the Shapes window. After you do that, drag some process and decision shapes onto your page. Notice if you hover your mouse over any shape in the drawing, the blue auto connect arrows will appear on the sides of the shape that aren't connected to any other shapes. Go ahead and point to the arrow that's just below the start and end shape here. You'll see a preview that shows what the connector looks like. This is called Live Preview. You'll also see a mini toolbar that contains the shapes in your drawing. We'll talk about that a bit more later. For now, click on the Auto Connect arrow to connect the shapes. Now, connect the process shape to the decision shape using the same method. We're about to make creating drawings even quicker and easier for you by teaching you to use quick shapes. In the last lesson, we learned about Auto Connect. When we used Auto Connect, we saw the mini toolbar appear. You can use that mini toolbar to create quick drawings. Let's see how it works. Drag a start and end shape onto your page. Point your mouse to an Auto Connect arrow. You'll see the mini toolbar shown here. When you mouse over a shape in the mini toolbar, it appears in your page. You can then see the diamond shape appear in your page here. Click on the shape in the mini toolbar to add it to your page. The shapes are automatically connected with the dynamic connector. Auto Add and Auto Delete are two more tools that Visio gives you to make creating drawings as quick and easy as possible. Auto Add helps you arrange your drawings to accommodate new shapes that you may add. Auto Delete removes connectors that still exist after you delete a shape that is linked to another shape. Let's learn how to use these tools. You can see a flowchart shown here that we've just created. To use Auto Add, we're going to drag a sub-process shape from the stencil. We're going to place the shape on top of one of the dynamic connectors in our drawing. To do this, I can drag the shape onto my drawing over the top of the dynamic connector. When we release our mouse button, the shape is inserted into our drawing and linked to the shape that comes before as well as the one that comes after. Like this. This is called Auto Add. To use Auto Delete, we're going to refer to our flowchart again. We're going to delete the sub-process shape we just added. To do this, select the shape if it's not already selected. Press the Delete key on your keyboard. Notice that Visio deletes the shape as well as the connectors to that shape. We're going to create a new drawing before we teach you how to replace shapes in your drawings. So far, we've created a diagram and a flowchart drawing. We are doing this so you get experience working with different templates and types of drawings that Visio 2013 offers. That said, click the File tab in Visio 2013. Click the New button, then click on the Maps category. Double-click on the directional map to create a new diagram of this type. Now, drag a shape onto the center of the page. Use a dynamic grid to drop it into the center. Now that the shape is selected, go to the Home tab and click on the drop-down next to the pointer tool icon, and select a line. Now change the color to red. This is found in the Shape Styles group under the Home tab. Next, go to the stencil and drag more road shapes. We have a three-way shape. You can then drag a road square and a curve if you want. Glue these to the original shape. Click Landmark Shapes in the Shapes window. Add a gas station by dragging it onto the drawing. Now we can learn how to change shapes. Click on the gas station to select it. Go to the Home tab and click on Change Shape. Choose a new shape from the drop-down menu. The shape is now changed.